Thank you everybody for being present at the meeting. And this is the agenda that we're suggesting for today. We have some news we want to share with you, a list of reminders, talk about the release improvements, some software changes we did this month, have a little demo, and then discuss about the next priorities, what will be changing in the future. So we go. I'm gonna reduce the size of this screen so that it doesn't take that much room. I'm gonna start with some news that we have here. We sent a message out to villages, so I guess most of you have seen it, but for those that didn't, we are reminding you that we are proud to be selected by Aging 2.0. Aging 2.0 is an organization that is promoting essentially technology for older adults, and we have been selected among the top 50 innovators worldwide in this ongoing competition, and we're happy to be in that group. Obviously, a recognition not for what we do, but essentially for what villages do. I think it's the prize that they are finding solutions for social isolation, and the village is the best solution for that, and that's great. At the same time, I wanted to have a quick overview of how we see the situation. Obviously, we're in the middle of the pandemic, and then I wanted to have a little discussion with villages about what we see. It may be biased. We're discussing with some villages, and these are a few observations. Try kind of understand what's going on. If anyone wants to, unmute themselves, this is a slide in particular where I would like to have a discussion. If someone can help us figure things out. But basically, this is our view of the current situation. So first thing is that villages are playing a key role supporting older adults during COVID. So these basically villages, you are all doing a great job, supporting people that are stuck in their homes, and that is great. So that is for the existing villages. Maybe not as much of a good news is sometimes we have seen some villages that we were discussing that were about to start, basically using helpful villages, etc. Some of them having a hard time starting. So, they had their group, they were about to start their village, and suddenly everything is a little bit frozen in some areas, because obviously it's hard to meet and to organize the village founders and etc. So we have been in discussion with, 2 or 3 villages that were ready to start and that are on pause, and we understand it. It's kind of it's hard sometimes to coordinate and launch a new initiative in these times. At the same time, what is interesting is that there is a global awareness of social isolation for the general public. So, everyone is stuck in their homes. So social isolation is discussed a lot in TV, in the radio, and everyone knows about this. And another thing that is interesting is that foundations, because there is this awareness, are also stepping up and basically saying that something needs to be done and they can help with that. So we have heard of some foundation funding villages. Is kind of even if it's hard to start a village right now, there is also what we find is that maybe it's harder to put the work to start a village, but sometimes easier to find funding because foundations are aware of the problem and wanting to help. So it's kind of a paradox in a way, where basically villages are more needed than ever before. People realize it, and maybe there is more funding available, and at the same time for the village founders that are running the village, it's a little bit harder to do so because it's hard to do the teamwork when you're stuck at home. At the same time, another component of the current situation is that there is the recognition for the of the village model as the best way to fight social isolation. This is what's happening with the Aging 2.0 contest. So, they nominated us because it's a technology contest, but I think they are also recognizing the village concept and the village model in terms of, well, what's the best way to get people together? And this is a village, and we just happen to be the technology powering that. What's going to happen also, I think, is that I don't know how the contest is going to go. I think village is the best solution for social isolation. So I wouldn't be surprised that we go higher in the contest and then even become finalists. And if that's the case, there might be some more media attention. I think the fact that there is innovation in social connection among older adults is a topic that is interesting to media, and I wouldn't be surprised if we do well in the contest that there is more media attention about what villages are doing. And then because there would be more media attention, and because everyone realizes that villages are more needed than ever before, we suppose that there would be funding that goes to these existing and new villages. And in order to get this funding, it's important to have a way for villages to prove their efficiency. So basically, this is something we have been discussing in previous webinars, is that the fact that we're providing the impact reports and that we have these evidence-based programs will be key to receive more funding. So this slide is a little bit dense. It's just, you know, as I said before, if someone wants to come in and say a word, for me, it's interesting and at the same time challenging that villages are doing great work, that is being recognized and people think that is interesting, and at the same time, it's not necessarily easy to do it at this time with, you know, working from home, remote, and different conditions, and maybe that there is more upcoming support. So that's my reading of the situation. Obviously, the villages, you have more on-field experience. This is coming from our discussion, but if someone wants to unmute and express another opinion, it's a great moment to do so.
Manuel?
Oh. Perfect. Hi, Carol.
Hello. Well, just briefly, I mean, you touched on all of the difficulties that villages are, you know, feeling right now. You know, we're in Massachusetts, so we had the very early spread of the virus.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, all of our services were shut down in March. And, you know, according to our state guidelines, and our senior centers were shut down, and they were sort of the second, you know, level of providing transportation, which most of our members use. And so we had to resort to, you know, just online trying to connect with our members and volunteers through Zoom. And with the average age of our members being about 85, which is probably a bit higher than some places, you know, we're really struggling with, you know, we've been finding other ways, but struggling with, you know, the online presence. Zoom isn't the easiest thing to use for older adults. Volunteers, yes, but members, not so much. And so, you know, we're right now contemplating on whether we're going to start to open services. We surveyed volunteers. Not everyone is willing to ride in a car with members. And, you know, so those are the biggest challenges we face. Phone Buddies has been fabulous. Thank you so much for adding that capability. We're still using it, stay in connection. So that's kind of where we are.
Perfect. Thank you, Carol. Thank you for reporting.
Anybody has any ideas, though, of easier ways to show people how to use Zoom or videos that are helpful, what have you, I'd be open to.
We have had some experience with that. We have had some success with actually using Zoom to teach a person to use Zoom. But most of all, what we're discovering is that most of our seniors have very antiquated equipment. And we are desperate to try to find some funding where we could fund Chromebooks, to also continue to get as creative as we can about ways to train people to use it through sending them a video that takes them through the steps. We've done it with someone on Zoom and a cell phone at the same time so that they can show us their screen if they're messed up. We think it can be done, but our biggest problem is our seniors don't have equipment.
So if I can,
I can give an example of how that works for us. We have had success getting a grant to using the information of how we're trying to reach people online, and so we got a grant that we're going to now have access to a little more technology for our people who don't have it or a little far behind. And one of the ways that was helpful in getting people interested in getting over their fear of technology was to do fun things. We've had a happy hour every week since we started. We have had cooking demos, which have been very successful, that we've arranged, you know, for people to register online. So the Helpful Village tools have been really helpful to us in providing these events that hopefully, you know, the idea is that they don't have a lot of pressure. People who don't usually use the technology don't have a lot of pressure of getting in and studying something or doing. It's just there. Let's get you on. If you can have trouble, call somebody who knows how to get on and they can talk you through it. And it's sometimes it's wild and crazy and loud and not very coordinated, but people are getting on and they're realizing that they can do it. And that's been huge for us.
Yeah, thank you, Teresa. Yeah,
Well, we published a booklet for people for Zoom, as well as we're using our email rather extensively.
Yeah.
So we're doing MailChimp emails to people about different things. One of the things that we are doing now is that we've been lifted in New York. So we are doing some knitting circles, and that's beginning to start. We just started last week. We're trying to figure out how to do more open air things, like in the park or something like that, so that people don't feel that they're being exposed indoors or at someone's house. So we're doing that as well.
Yeah, thank you.
Manuel?
Yeah.
This is Gail from Sausalito Village.
Yeah.
We have a volunteer who's very technical oriented, and she wrote up some Zoom instructions, which are on our website.
Yeah.
And anyone can look at those if they're interested.
Yeah, great. Gail, I will ask Jake, you know, maybe we can link that on a Slack or the chat or something so that we can, you know, share that with other villages. We're happy to do so.
Okay.
Yeah, basically, first, thank you everyone that, you know, came in and mentioned. I don't want to spend too much time on a discussion because we have a lot of content that we need to discuss. But I think all the people that participated in the, you know, in this discussion, I think bring the fact that, well, the circumstances are difficult, right? There are some of the challenges around training, about helping people that are, you know, in difficult situations, being stuck at home, etc. But I wanted to mention that my read, and it comes from previous conversation, but even from today's discussion, is that, well, it's difficult, the situation is not ideal, but that the village is the best solution there is out there to offer this connection that even if it's hard, is super important. So what we're fighting with, you know, with the Aging 2.0 contest, etc., just letting people know is that, well, you know, we're not saying it's easy, but villages is the best solution and what can be done best and the efforts that you're displaying on the field. So I think it all makes sense. So, you know, we keep fighting there. So, but thank you for people pitching in. I think that confirms my read of the situation. We wanted to say one more word about the contest. Obviously, the contest, we are selected in the top 50 at this point, and there is a public voting phase, which basically what they do is that anybody can go to the Aging 2.0 website using the link that you can see on that screen, and then that takes you to the Helpful Village page, and then you're able to vote for Helpful Village. Basically, it's going to ask for an email, and then people can vote. What I like about the contest, you know, well, the contest is kind of a game or something, but I think it's more important than just a game. I think that if we make it to the next phase and we're in the finals, I think more media will get interested in what villages are doing, because saying, oh, well, these are the top 10 best ideas to, you know, fight social isolation, and that is particularly useful at this time. And maybe, you know, it wouldn't be surprising that there is newspaper articles following it. So I think it's important voting just to raise awareness about what villages are doing. So if you have a chance to do that, you can do that. And basically, it's quite easy to vote, but there is just a few steps. So we have Jake put together a training doc, and he's gonna show it right now about what you can do to vote in that contest. So So I'm gonna mute myself, and Jake is gonna present those few slides. So I'm gonna stop sharing my screen and unmute, and then Jake, you can come in. So,
oh, you might have to turn it on.
now you're in, right?
Yeah.
Are you sharing your screen?
No, 1 second. Record.
Can you share?
Alrighty, you guys. So like Manuel was saying, we want everyone to be able to come in and vote. And we had a couple of questions about what exactly to do. So I made a quick training doc to help you guys with it. Apologies. So first things first, come in, you'll enter in your email. And then step 2, it should ask you if you are a robot. Hopefully no one is, so that'll be easy. And then sometimes it does give you a little quiz just to make sure that you're a robot, that you're not a robot, sorry. And then afterwards, it'll pull up a little button that says send confirmation email. So you want to click that, and it's going to shoot an email to your email address. And then it'll show once it is already sent. And then this is what you're going to see in your email. And you're going to have to please click here to confirm your votes. Once you click that, then it'll take you all the way back to the vote page, show that you voted, and it starts a timer for 24 hours so you can come back the next day and do the same thing over again. And that's really important, as I put at the bottom, to come back and repeat the steps 1 through 7 the next day, 24 hours from then. And yeah, I hope that helps. We will post it out and put it on Slack so that everyone can have access to it. And yeah, hopefully it helps some of you guys.
Okay. So I'm going to share my screen. And I am muted, so I'm back. Okay, hopefully everyone can hear me again. Jake is going to check on the chat about how everything is going. And I think Carly posted on the chat the link to participate in the vote. So anyways, if you, oh God, what happened here? Oh, I clicked on the link. That's not good. Oh. Okay, so we can keep on going with the presentation. So basically this is the plan. So we demonstrated about what's the contest and then how we can help raise awareness about what villages are doing. So the plan, the way we understand it is that 1, we win the Aging 2.0 competition because the best thing that can be done for social isolation. Villages show efficiency through impact reports. So when we get awareness, we can let people know that it's not only a great idea, but basically it's working with the numbers. And then villages receive additional funding so that they can help go out there and help more people. So it's a very simple plan. First win and then be awesome. Okay, so that's kind of the reading for the current situation and the contest. And now what's going on here? It's giving me a tough time presenting. Sorry. I cannot go to the next slide. I don't know what happened. Do it from here. Okay, so I'm going to finish this overview, but basically it's important not only winning the contest, but also showing people that when they are looking at the village concept that we can show these numbers, and then the numbers the villages are doing, it's, you know, we are having a great impact on the local communities. I wanted to show you also a meeting we did with one of our villages this month. Which is basically, we put in a spreadsheet file and we ran the impact report for May and the impact report for June and then for July. And basically what was interesting is studying and discussing with the village the evolution over time. So this is actually a new village. So a new village that signed up with Helpful Village recently. So they are ramping up their use and using more of the platform. So, you know, in May, we loaded the members and volunteers they had, but they were not entering the service. And as you can see, then in June, they started entering the services, they started using the MailChimp marketing messages out, etc. And I really like kind of this format of the meeting with them where we were able to see, well, we can see the evolution where basically month after month, we see that in green are the things that you know have been dramatically improved in the village operations. And in orange is other opportunities you know, basically to use more of the software. So basically here, if we were meeting with these villages, when we did it, say, well, you have your members and volunteers already in the database in May. In June, you started adding services and you started doing your marketing. Maybe for July, the plan would be to start adding your events and events attendance so that, you know, basically the numbers reflect basically the impact of the village. But basically looking at the impact report month by month is something that we found super useful. And that's it. So that's kind of the news. Now we're gonna go quickly on the reminders, because I know we have we want to announce some of the improvements we did this month. So this is kind of the email for the customer support, the improvement ideas, and basically the link for the training docs, videos, and slides. So this is a resource slide where you can find these links. This is a reminder of the fact that you can find training documents following this link. We have training docs for each one of the modules. This is a reminder also. Besides the training docs, we also have training videos and the recording of these webinars that are available on our YouTube channel. You can subscribe to that one. And then that we have two separate processes. One is if you have bugs, they are to be reported by email to support@helpfulvillage.com. If you have improvement ideas, you can go to that URL and, you know, suggest new improvement ideas and additions to the software. Last reminder is that we're doing this webinar today. We're basically Helpful Village announcement, but next week we have a webinar with V2V that is more questions and answers. So basically, you know, goes more both ways. And basically, if you have questions that you want to discuss next week, you can send them to support@helpfulvillage.com, or also send them to Joanne Gainen, who's our national coordinator. When we do the webinar next week, it's essentially Joanne that is leading the meeting and basically making sure that we bring up the, you know, the most frequent questions or informative questions, and we, you know, participating also in the meeting, trying to answer as many questions as possible. So if you have questions, please send them ahead of time, and then also be present at the webinar next Wednesday at the same time. So that is for the reminders. So now we come to the kind of the new things that have changed. So these release notes, we have been working on a couple of things this month, and this is the announcements and the new features that will be released on the server this weekend. So let's go there. First thing is a change that we have discussed in the future is that the membership types, you have now the possibility to designate these membership types as a full membership or as a social membership. So by default, we have, when we install the new version, all the existing membership types will be set to full memberships. But I know some villages use some social memberships for which basically the difference is that social members don't have the right to ask for service requests. So they cannot put requests for services. So that will be managed automatically from the menu. If you have a full member, they can put service requests. If it's only a social member, the system will not allow you to create service requests. So I'm gonna show you in the demo later today where you can find this, but this is a new feature that was installed. This is more of a bug fix, where basically when we had members that were in the grace period, they were not showing in the members directory. And now they are, because a member that is, even if it's expired, but they're in the grace period, they should be showing in the member directory. So that's something we fixed this month. And this is not a bug. This is an improvement of a new design possibility. So basically, you know that we have different formats where you can have a square logo or horizontal logo, etc. We created a new design that you can choose from the website settings. All villages can do this, is that if you choose to keep your logo on the left, you can do so. But if you prefer this style a little better, where you have a bigger logo on top of the menu, it's just an option that is available to you. And I'll show you this in the demo later today too. This is something we fixed. Basically, it's the possibility to have your events on your calendar. If you want to promote them, you can share them on Facebook. So we had a little issue, and we were discussing with Cheverly Village in Maryland, and we could fix it. So now, if you have a picture associated to your event, this is how your post would look like on Facebook. So basically, it's a way to promote your events on Facebook, and when people click on the picture, they'll be taken to your event page. I'll do a demo also about this later today. This is a little change that we did. Last month at the last webinar, we did this change in the reports where basically, you know, the hours completed, before they were displayed in minutes or something like that. And now they're displayed in this format that is more human readable, which is kind of 1 hour and 45 minutes of work. So that we updated the website so that it's displayed the right way. And quite interestingly, connected to the next item on the list, which is that on the spreadsheet reports, right? We had this format we announced on you know, the column G last month, where we're displaying the hours completed in kind of 1 hour 15 or 4 hours 42, etc. And we did that because it's easier to read for a human. At the same time, this month, we got some feedback from villages. I remember from Colorado and also in California. Well, obviously that you're running these reports to add the total number of hours. And Excel and, you know, the spreadsheet software was making it complicated to add this hour format, which is surprising to me because adding hours is something that Excel should be able to do very easily. But because it was not the case, what we did this month is that we added another column. It's the same hours completed is displayed in this human readable format. And then we added another column with the decimal format. So this is 1 hour 15 minutes is actually 1 hour 0.25. So the good thing about this column is that if you go down and you do the addition, these are just numbers, and Excel is able to add them up very easily. So it's just an easier way to you know, to have the same number that you can add. Okay, now we have, this is other improvements we did this month. And we have 2 or 3 improvements that we did related to COVID-19. As we discussed before, in the initial discussion, villages are going through, you know, basically training or helping their members with the coronavirus situation, and we want to add more tools to Helpful Village to make that easier. So I thought this was a great improvement. We were talking with Capital City Village in Austin, Texas, and we got this improvement in this month, which is for each provider that is being advertised on the village website. We added a few more settings, so you're able to say if this provider is offering a COVID-19 plan, and also what are the coronavirus measures that they're implementing. So basically, if you have your members that are looking at the providers directory, they will be able to see, well, this provider is taking these measures and I feel comfortable going there. Or if there are no measures available, well, then, you know, your members can decide to go or not to go. So this is a way to publicize COVID measures that are being implemented by, you know, by good providers, let's say a restaurant or, you know, any other thing that can reassure the member. So this is one of the COVID improvements we did this month. We have more. This is another one, which is connected to a discussion we had last month. So a few webinars ago, we added an online meeting URL for the events page. So on the events page, for each event that you're organizing, you're able to add a Zoom link that basically if your members are logged in or volunteers, they can go to the website, click on join the Zoom meeting, and that takes them to the Zoom meeting. We're using also the possibility to add this Zoom meeting link on the event registration confirmation email, and also on the event reminders email, right? Where basically the email goes out as a reminder the day before the event, and it contains the link to the Zoom meeting if you're setting it up on that event. Now, we have had a few conversations with villages. Obviously, at first, what we did last month is that the Zoom meeting, we were only including it if the participant was a trusted person. So if it's an active member or an active volunteer. And the third thing is that if it's someone that was registered by an admin, we were sending the Zoom link in the reminder email because we thought those are trusted people. What we wanted to avoid is something that is called Zoom bombing, and then you can look that up on Wikipedia. It's just, if you make your Zoom links too public and people find it on Google or anything, what was happening is kind of some people, ill-intentioned people were joining those meetings and then sharing pictures or saying things that should not be said, etc. It's kind of people that should not be joining were joining, and I don't know, showing pictures, etc. And that is a problem. That's why we were not sending it to everybody. Still, there are some measures you can implement into Zoom to prevent having this kind of hacking or stuff like that. For example, you can implement the waiting room, and then you can allow people in, or, you know, on your Zoom meeting. And at the same time, we realized that some of the villages came back to us saying, well, even when our event is open to all and people register, even if they're not a member, we would like them to have the Zoom meeting link on the reminder email, because it makes it easier for them to join, because otherwise they had to send it by hand, kind of by individual emails, and they wanted to send it to everybody. So there is some risk associated with that if you're not implementing the waiting room or other security measures. So we added this kind of warning here saying, well, we give you this checkbox that allow for each event that allows you to include the Zoom link on all the reminder emails and the registration emails for all participants. Oops, sorry. Even if they are members or not members, it will send to all. But then obviously you're taking the risk, you're accepting the risk that, you know, if some anonymous person joins the meeting and can get in and you didn't implement the security measures, they could participate and be there and say something that you didn't want to. If you have questions about this, obviously you can get back to us later. We have a Q&A later today, but yeah, it's just it's a way to share the Zoom meeting link and make it easy for people to join the meeting if you have security measures in place. This is the last coronavirus improvement we did this month that is very exciting. It's a conversation we had with a village in California. Unfortunately, fire season is getting here in addition to this wonderful 2020 year that we're having. And they're setting up an emergency plan for their village members. It's like, well, what happens, you know, let's say that there is a power outage or evacuation order or something. This village is doing something super interesting in coordination with the city or the fire department or the police department locally. They're saying, well, we're gonna inform our members about our emergency plan, and we will store some information. This information has been added for all villages across the nation. Basically, on the additional info tab of a person, you will be able to enter this information. So there are 3 levels of vulnerability for people that are, you know, that need more attention, or people that are, yeah, in these different, you know, are more or less vulnerable. Medical equipment, sometimes if they're using oxygen or other things, if they have received the emergency supply kit or not, if they have dogs, cats, birds or other pets, and a number of other questions that are there in the emergency plan. So yeah, so well, kudos to the village that is setting up this emergency plan, and then for all others, they will find these fields available in the additional info tab when we deploy this weekend. This is another improvement we did this month, is that on the donation page, right? You all know that you can receive donations for your village. We added a small checkbox this month, which is the possibility to do a monthly donation. So if you do your fundraising campaign and you have a donor that wants to donate $100 a month, well, now they can, you know, choose the amount and then check that box, and then it's going to withdraw the amount of that donation on a regular basis. So it's a small checkbox, but you know, it can make a difference for your donors. Okay, and we have one more feature, is that we added the possibility on your contact page to link to your Facebook page, to your Instagram page that we had already, but we added LinkedIn this month. So if your village has a LinkedIn page, you can also add the link there. It will be linked from the contact page. Okay, so now we have another list of questions, and I have the demo. Let's go, we can go with the questions. If there are any questions about these features, please unmute yourself and you can start asking questions. In the meantime, I'm gonna pull up the demo site and show you some of these improvements. So if anyone has questions, you can start doing that.
I have a question from Berkshire's.
Okay.
Is
I
that
don't hear
allowed?
any questions, so I can show you the demo of these new improvements as they will become available this, this weekend. First one is I wanted to show you where to find the social or full membership. And I see there is a question and there's a hand raised. So I can stop talking and it's, yeah, so I think there's a question. You can, I'll be silent for a second if you want to ask the question.
I have a question, Manuel. On the
Teresa, I think you may be muted because I don't hear you. Oh, sorry. No, I think I stopped my volume. I think everyone could hear you except me.
can you hear me now?
Yeah, now I stopped the sound when Jake was talking. I couldn't hear. But so yes, so if anyone was talking, please repeat everything you said and I can take the questions.
So my question was about the disclaimer.
Yeah.
Will members and volunteers still get the Zoom link without the disclaimer, and it's only people who are not already in our system, or will everybody get the disclaimer?
Yeah, good question. If you don't check the box, it will still go to the trusted people. So to the active members, the active volunteers. And then if you check the box, it will also go to the anonymous people that registered for the event, but that we don't know at Helpful Village. Yeah. I'm gonna show you. You know what I can do, Teresa? I'll go to that event. I'm gonna show what is found at the same time. So it's not your question, but it's associated to it. I don't have my pictures here in my demo site, but basically here you choose one of the events, and if you edit this event, you have the name of the event, the categories that have not changed. What has changed is down here you have the online meeting link that you can choose. And then here, this checkbox here that says, I accept the risk. I wish to include the online meeting link in reminders and emails for all participants. And you check this box. And then you go down here at the bottom, and then you save. And then basically gets, that will send these additional reminders to other people.
And well, I'd like to interrupt here, and not a question, just an observation. I was surprised to find that instruction box information that you can edit into the instruction box, it showed up in the weekly automated calendar mailing with the event description, and I thought that was only going to be in the confirmations and reminders. So I had put the Zoom link in there with the password, and I had to change.
Yeah, great question. So let me tell you what I think happened, right? Is that last month we added, I mean, we have been working on this for a couple of months. One is that we added the Zoom link right here. The other thing is like, well, are we sending it on the email or not? Yes or no? Then we had added this field last month, which is the instructions that you can send out to participants. But these are public instructions. What some villages started doing is that, because we're at Helpful Village, maybe we were being too careful and we didn't want to, broadcast this Zoom link too much. They were using the instruction field to send the Zoom link. But that one is public. That goes to everybody. So that's why our recommendation is not to put the Zoom link in the instructions. Just check this box, and it will go. It will appear when it should appear. Is that right?
I have a question.
Yeah.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. So I created an event and had a Zoom link, and I had all my registrations go through HV, and then none of them like I had to double enter them because they physically did it and it showed up on my registration. They show up on the host site on Zoom, and so I had to go back and physically register them in Zoom to actually get the meeting. So there was no connection between the Helpful Village, even though I put the link in and everyone saw the link right there, just like that in my event. I had to double enter everything.
Yeah, I didn't understand why. So the people had the Zoom link and they clicked on it and they went there, but they were not.
Do they have to, if they register for the HV event, for the Zoom event, which is the HV event, they have to both do the HV event and the Zoom? They have to double enter themselves?
No, that's a setting in Zoom.
Exactly.
If you have set only, authorized users or something can enter the meeting, then that could happen. Otherwise, I don't know.
I think it's called require registrations in your settings in Zoom.
I had required registration.
Yeah, that's it.
Oh,
Yeah, you don't want to, you don't want
You don't
that.
wanna do it.
Yeah.
You don't want that.
Yeah, that's it. So we take people to the Zoom room, but then if you're requiring registration on Zoom, we cannot do that. Cannot get in the middle. So that asks for a
So
second.
they have to double enter themselves.
Well,
Sign
or
up for
you
the
just,
event and go into Zoom and sign up for the Zoom event.
or just get rid of that in Zoom.
Yeah. Yeah, it's what Bonnie is saying, is what would be my suggestion also. Is
Okay.
if you go to Zoom, if you go to the Zoom setting, not on Helpful Village, only on Zoom, there is one checkbox that says, well, are we requiring registration for the Zoom meeting? And if you uncheck that box, people that go through the link that we're only distributing to the trusted people, they will get in and they don't need to double register. They're just allowed in, as we did today on this webinar.
So do you see them on your Zoom side? I don't get it.
No, I don't see them. Yeah. Yeah, you know what I mean is that I took note of the question, and Jake is gonna send you an email about what these other villages are doing, and they're recommending. Both Bonnie and Carol was suggesting to
Great,
not
because I just
require.
sent out 200 invitations to a Zoom meeting, but I didn't use Helpful Village this time because I didn't want to double enter 100 people.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, we can suggest to you what we understand that, you know, Capital City, Bay to Sound are doing, how they're handling it, and then you can decide if you want to do it on the same way or in a different way. But
yeah, because it made more work for me, not less.
well, the thing is, yeah, it's an interesting question, is that if you remove the registration requirement on Zoom, you don't have more work, but then there is a connection with security. But I mean, we'll try to explain it the best way we can on the, you know, via support via an email, so we can send you that information.
Manuel,
Yes.
this is Erica from Palisades Village.
Hi, Erica.
So the instructions that are on the event, getting back to the original question,
Yeah.
those instructions appear on the weekly update? Because that was a surprise to me. I'd never seen them appear before last week. And
You're right. You're right. They are. For us, those are instructions that were very public, like saying, well, you're attending, come to this, you know, enter through the blue door or something. But we should, you know, it's interesting. I got another one person saying the same thing. We will clarify here in the instructions, saying that this is also visible in the weekly event email. For me, it was
because I was using it as I wanted it to go in the reminder that to use the blue door.
You're right. And
but it went out as this long, in-depth conversation for people.
But you know, it's a good point, Erica. I don't know, maybe, I mean, we can do two things. Either here, I understand that we are not saying that. The other thing is that I can also make sure we don't include that in the weekly email, which is maybe better. My first understanding is that, well, those are instructions that are public and could be, you know, distributed, you know, on the weekly email. But maybe you think that it's better not to have them on the weekly email, is what you're saying?
I would prefer that it just goes in the confirmation and the reminders for those who have already signed up.
Okay.
Which is what it says that it's going to be for. It does not say that it will go out in the weekly email.
No, he's not saying, that's for sure. But we could do two things, two different options. One is say it here that it will go out in the weekly email, or the other option is leave it as it is and just not send it on the weekly email.
I would prefer it not be on the weekly email and just have details to participants.
Okay, we're gonna do that. I took note of that. So in this weekend release, it will no longer be on the, you know, on the weekly email.
Thank you.
Okay. It's interesting. Sometimes, you know, it's kind of, we need to balance what is the better. Like, oh, the instructions should be known to everybody. So let's add them. And sometimes like, yeah, well, maybe not to everybody. Anyway, it's a good question. Thank you, Erica. Let me go back. We're doing great. If you have other questions, please let me know. If you don't, I want to keep showing you some of the new improvements this month. First is, oh God damn it, that was not the right tab. It's here. I want to show you another thing, and that is here when you go to admin settings. If you go to the website tab, here on the logo orientation, you have these options that you had before. If you have an horizontal logo, if you have a square logo or a vertical logo, these are different things. settings that were displaying the logo on your website, we added this fourth option here, which is the logo on top, which will do put the logo up here. I can show you. We did this for Petaluma village in California, and this is so basically you will be able, all villages will be able to choose this, you know, design. If you prefer having the logo up here, you will be able to choose that when the kind of design option you have available.
How does that appear on a cell phone?
No, it does not. The thing is, obviously, the size of the screen is different. So the challenge with the cell phone is we need to be careful so that it doesn't take, you know, half of the screen only for the logo. So it's a good question. We may do some tests, Jim, about that. But obviously, the challenge is just a smaller screen. But we can try some things. We can experiment on that. We can, you know, discuss about that offline. Okay, I wanted to show you another thing about the social media. So I'll go to Cheverly this time around because it's something that we were doing with them. We look at the list of events. And then basically here, some of the events that they're organizing, this virtual happy hour. If you choose that event, you go to the details. And then if you would see here, you have a share button that can be used by anyone. You don't need to have admin rights. It can be anyone that goes to your website. If you're an admin or if you're just anonymous person, anyone can go there and say, well, I want to share this page on my Facebook account, and then say here, oh, definitely, I am definitely participating at this Cheverly village event. And then basically you can post it to Facebook. And that's it. So just write a little text, you go there, and then I want to show you basically how it's going to look like if I go to my Facebook page. And there we go. So it's already here on my Facebook timeline, right? So I just posted as Manuel Acevedo. I'm definitely participating at this Cheverly Village event. And then people, you know, as a normal Facebook post, people can like it and comment on it. So it's a good way to spread the word about the village. The other fun thing about it is that anybody on Facebook that sees it and then find this happy hour idea interesting and they see the date, say, I'll be there. They're gonna click on the picture and we're taking them from Facebook, we're taking them to the village website. So it's a, you know, it's a good promotion way to get people that are, you know, browsing through Facebook and you want to bring them to the village website. So it's a good thing.
Manuel?
Yes.
So it goes, so when you click the share button, it's going to your web page as the logged in person?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. And Facebook is going to give you a few options. So if you're, you know, if you want to post it on your personal Facebook, you can. If you have a admin rights on the village page, right? It's going to also offer you the possibility to publish that on the village page, right? So people can choose. Okay, so that's for the Facebook aspect. Then I wanted to go, let me see if I can find a provider. Emergency plan. Oh, no, I know what I'm going to do. Let's get out of Facebook. And then no more Cheverly, Petaluma we did. We're back in the demo site. One thing I wanted to show here is emergency plan. Yeah, so if I go to my, now let me do it this way. First, let me see if I can find a provider. Yeah, I don't know if I have a provider here on this site. It's not what I wanted to do. I wanted to show the provider, but I don't know the name I was testing that. I will not find it in live. But I can show the emergency plan. Let's do that. So if I go to my website, to my profile, and then here, I wanted to show you what we did with California Village that is working on the emergency plan. If I choose to add my additional information for any person, You know these fields already. Kind of, you can enter the primary doctor, member needs, and admin alert, emergency contact. So these fields were pre-existing. What we did this month is that we added the emergency plan fields here. So all villages starting this weekend, they will be able to choose here if they want. I mean, if they want to use them. You know, if you don't want to use these fields, don't use them. I will fix this terrible typo here. But other than that, you can choose, you know, if your people are in the vulnerable or least vulnerable or moderately vulnerable, add the medical equipment that this person has, if this person has an emergency supply kit, or if it's not been distributed, if they have the pet evacuation plan, the number of cats and dogs that they have, if they have food supplies for 3 days, if they have the evacuation plan, if they have a car, if they have the ability to drive, is someone that can drive this person, or if they have a electric garage door opener. Obviously, if some village comes up with a field that makes a lot of sense for the emergency plan we didn't think of, please let us know, we can extend this list. But the idea is that for villages that want to set up an emergency plan and run a survey with their members about this information and distribute these emergency supply kits, that they can do it from this area. Whew. And now I'm going to take my breath because I have one more thing that I wanted to show you. And for me, it's kind of the most kind of exciting addition that we're doing. And the bad news that I'm not sure it's going to go out this month. Maybe it's going to go the month after. But it's a new capability, and I can show you a little preview about it. So we have, this is my profile. You can search a person. And then what you can do here, let me see. I have a multi-device demo going on. We're adding a new capability where basically you can go to the activity tab. And then from the activity tab, you know that you can see the list of emails and send email templates to people. We're adding a new channel, in particular here with the COVID-19 situation and everything. We're adding the possibility to send text messages. So here's how it will work. So basically on the activity tab, you can see other text messages that have been sent to this person. If you want to send a new text message, just choose here. It's going to select the person that this is going to send to. And then basically here, we can write a message. And the message is can be, what wonderful. Can anyone give me a message for the live demo? Because otherwise you're going to think I'm cheating.
Come to our happy hour on Friday.
Ah, that's good, Teresa. That's good. That's how good you are with your marketing for your virtual happy hour on Friday at Cheverly Village. Ooh. Happy hour, man. Please join us. Something like that. Okay. So just text a typical message, and then it's supposed to send a message to my screen. I'm just gonna say send here. Okay, and actually, it's actually sent. And it's gonna be on my profile now. So now we see that we have 2 messages that have been sent out to this person. With this one is something I had done during my testing. And this, the new message is happy hour on Friday at Cheverly Village, please join us. And this was sent at this time, right? But now the most interesting part of the presentation is that you want to see if it worked. Am I on screen or not? Yes, I'm on screen. So I received a text message. I don't know if you can see it on my screen or not, but there's a text message here and I can open it. And we don't see the screen. Oh, disappointing. But basically it says happy hour on Friday at Cheverly Village, please join us. No surprise.
And well, if you turn your brightness bottom up to the way down,
okay. Thank you, Carly. Let me bring some magic to that.
Yeah, what does it say? Who does it say it's from?
So yeah, I'm gonna explain that. I don't know if you can see. Oh, yeah. Now we have some glaring from the screen. You have to believe me. Anyways, and so the way this works. So first, we're excited because there's a new way to contact people. We know some members don't read their email, and obviously it's not as immediate. Text message is a new channel that is exciting. The bad news is that so it's not free. We can send text messages. Technically, it's working, but we need to go with a provider, and it is a paid service, etc. But it's very cheap. And basically, what we do is for villages that want to sign up for this premium feature, basically they have the possibility to get a phone number that will send the messages out. So basically, you can get this, including in the premium feature fee, a phone number in your local area, and then people will receive it from the local area. And then we basically, for the cost, you know, if you're thinking about how much this costs, we cannot do it free because we need to pay for these kind of messages being sent out. What we're thinking is to do basically the cost of each text message out, that would be 2 cents per message. So, you know, every time you go and send a message to a person, we'll be counting the number of messages you send, and then basically we'll add to your monthly invoice the fact that, you know, 2 cents per message that you send. And then there is a monthly fee. The monthly fee includes the phone number that will be owned by your village. The good thing also that I didn't demonstrate today, but it's going to be available on the next month, is that people can reply to that text message, and the village gets notified, and we can even record their response here on their profile. But as I said, this is kind of something that is coming. I would say that if you can, you know, maybe wait for an additional month, we're adding more functionality, you know, in the August webinar, so that we have more of this text messaging. Just wanted to let you know that that is working technically. We're just going to make it more smoother, so that you have response to the web, to the SMS, etc. And I wanted to bring that up, put that on the table. Also to hear back from you about your ideas. What we're doing now is that these text messages are kind of manually sent. And we want to be careful, obviously not to bother people sending too many text messages. But you know, if some of the villages have improvement ideas or suggestions about, well, in this situation, you know, would make sense to send a confirmation email because a volunteer is showing up or something like that. Like, we are taking ideas at this point. We're going to be careful, but what we're doing at this time is, you know, basically you can go to the user profile and send one text message at a time. Anyways, so with that being said, I look at the clock, and we are perfectly on time for the clock. But I'm going to stop talking about these new features, and I need to bring up our slideshow, because I have a few things that I need to show you still. But if you let me, you know what we can do is that let me finish the presentation. I have 2 more slides, and then I can still stay around for questions. So basically, what we're going to do is here. These questions we can wait. I just wanted, the 2 slides remaining are about the current priorities. So these are print screen from the current priorities requests from villages. We have added some of them here that were promised last month. The new category for social memberships, and the LinkedIn page. Also the volunteers receiving text messages, and members also. I mean, any person receiving text messages is something that we're halfway there, so it's going to become available. And then we have these other improvements in white are still not finished, and, you know, probably coming up, you know, it will be the next priority. So we're working on that so that we have them available in August. And we have more current priorities that are associated to new features. One is that we want to not only do the kind of send a text message, but have a page. You all know that we have this email messenger. We want to do the same thing, so you can have the list of all text messages. So we will be adding a few new pages. This one we did already show the text message conversation on user profile. But the improvement is that not only the messages that you're sending out, but the messages also that you're receiving. If someone responds to that text message, you will be able to have it on the village website. And then other improvements we're doing is member and volunteers. Event registration is an option for registering for events. We're adding an option where the login will be required, so you don't have people that are not members and not volunteers will not be able to sign in, register for an event if they don't log in. We need to do this volunteer activity report. It needs to be an asynchronous report. We have the next one is something that is coming. The next one is harder actually, so I don't know if it's gonna come up in August or September. It's basically the service requests with multiple volunteers. So it's something we have heard from several villages. We know it's interesting, but it's kind of a little bit complex technically how to do it. And I wanted to mention an example. We're working on it, but haven't figured it out entirely. When we had only one possible volunteer, the interesting thing is that, for example, the status is very clear. It's either the request is open, either it's matched, either it's matched or completed. But now if you have multiple volunteers, a little bit more complicated. What's the status? Is it matched or is it open? So I don't know. We're trying to figure it out, the puzzle, so that we can make that available. It's just a little bit harder. And then the last item we'll be working on next month is the email deliverability. It's a hard word, but it's basically, we need to make sure that the emails that are sent from Helpful Village conform to some standards in email sending. People, if people want to stop receiving them, we need to add a link to unsubscribe. And this is, we already do that for the MailChimp emails. So that comes with MailChimp. But apparently we need to do it also for our Helpful Village emails, those for volunteers and other things that you're sending out. If people, it's kind of some anti-spam regulation. If people don't want to receive those emails, they should be able to say so. And we need to stop sending them emails. Anyways, that's kind of basically, as a summary, situation is weird with the coronavirus, but villages are doing great and are super important. We have added a ton of new features this month, and we have a to-do list for next month. So we'll be busy for sure. And at this point, I hope you have appreciated all the information we have distributed. And I'm gonna open it up for questions. If someone has to go, obviously we're past the hour, so anyone can, leave at this moment, but I'll stay around for a little more to answer questions.
Manuel, for the service request with multiple volunteers, what we would like to do, and you tried to explain how to do it, it didn't actually work yet, but we would like to have a maybe possibility, like somebody would say, I'll be able to do it, and we'd like to know that they may be able to do it, but if somebody else takes it, that's fine. Okay. So that's what we'd like to do.
Okay, yeah, that's interesting.
Manuel, this is Maria. When we have multiple people who have to do, for example, we had someone who had to go to an eye doctor appointment, and he was going to be there for 2.5 hours.
Yes.
So what we are doing is we're listing the going and the coming separately.
Yeah.
So that's how we're handling it, and it seems to be working for us.
Yeah, that's a good idea, Maria. For going and coming, I think it should be 2 different requests. I think it's a good way. But sometimes here, I think this is a different need. Is, for example, something we have heard from villages. An example: if you're setting up an event and you want to find 5 volunteers that come to, help you set up the tables and stuff like that. The idea, if I understand well, is that we would say, well, I want to look for 5 volunteers that can come help set up the event. And if we don't have that possibility, what people were doing is creating 5 service requests, but they were looking very similar. So that was a little bit annoying, and I understand.
Yeah, I understand that.
Yeah.
Also, what we do is we make sure that both coming and going are done before the event. So
that's great.
Well, we actually, if someone doesn't volunteer, we volunteer them.
Yeah. Okay, I think that's great. And I don't think that's going to change. If we find a solution for the service request with multiple volunteers, I think what you're doing is a great idea, because that allows to make sure that people understand that it's not the same thing. Going there and coming back are 2 different things, and you want to make sure that people understand that. So I think you're doing that well.
So Manuel, this is Carol in Oregon.
Yeah, hi Carol.
Hi, I haven't been able to set up more than 1 service request for the same member on the same date. And that's what is needed if you're going to have someone, somebody dropping them off and somebody picking them up. Or if I had multiple volunteers I want for that date, I could put out multiple service requests, but I haven't been able to do that.
Yeah, it's a good point. I'm going to check on the settings. It's possible you can do that with a setting. Let me see. Services. And then here, volunteer overlap. Yeah, I mean, let me share my screen again. I can show you something. I'm not sure it allows it, but it's something similar. What I mean is that the reason why it doesn't allow it is we're trying to be smart, really, right? So that avoid duplicates. If a person goes in and create the same service request twice, right? It's like saying, no, you know, you cannot enter the same thing 2 times, or you cannot go to the doctor appointment at the same time, request someone to come fix your computer. So we can, I mean, it was, you know, we did that on purpose to limit this overlap. Something that is interesting here, if you go to settings, right, and then services, we have a couple of options where you can activate and deactivate some of these measures. For example, we had here, authorize volunteers to overlap service requests. Each village can customize that. If you want to allow your volunteers to say, well, they can be volunteering for 2 different people at the same time, you can uncheck that. No, you can check if you want to authorize them, and uncheck if you don't want the same volunteer to be taking 2 requests at the same time. So what I understand is we could do something similar for the members. Is that I'm understanding you well, Carol?
I don't see a box there that will allow me.
It's not showing. It's not showing. I just wanted to, my question to you was, we could add that as an improvement request, but I just wanted to make sure that I understand it well so that we can add that checkbox in the future.
I was just wondering how other villages are putting in a service request to drop somebody off and then another service request for a pickup, because that would be the same date.
We have no trouble with that.
You're having trouble with that, Jim?
No, we have no trouble. We can, as long as the SR starts 15 minutes difference, you can have multiple service requests for the same person.
Right.
Absolutely. Yeah, this is what I had in mind also. For me, it's like we allow several service requests on the same date. It's not a problem, but at the exact, you know, same day, same hour, we're trying to be smart and say, no, it's not possible. You cannot be doing 2 different things in the same minute. But Carol, I don't know. Do you think it's Jim's solution can work for you?
I tried and I get a message back that I can't schedule 2 service requests on the same day.
Yeah. You know what we should do is obviously we can look at the exact case. You can send an email to Jake.
I will.
And then we will try to do exact same thing. So if you can send us an example of a request, and then, you know, with the date, the start date and start time that you want for first request and for second request, we can try the same thing on our end and then try to make it work. It should work. As Jim is saying, that was what I had in mind, is that they cannot be at the same minute, but if it's 15 minutes after, you can. Okay, is there another question?
Manuel, this is Catherine from La Miranda Village. I have a question about flexible service.
Yeah.
We have a lot of shopping services going on right now, and a volunteer might take 2 or 3, and unfortunately they would want to take 2 or 3 at the same time and make this delivery, but they can't, because even though the services are flexible, I still had to choose a date and time. And so if it's the same date and time for different members, she cannot take those. Is there a way to get around that?
Well, that I think you can solve that problem with what I just showed here.
Yes, I was wondering, is that something that's on my screen that I can fix?
Yeah, that's already available. If you go to your website and go to settings and then services, if you check this box, authorizing volunteers to overlap service requests, they can choose several service requests for different members.
Perfect. Okay, thank you.
Perfect. Other questions? Actually, you know, I'm doing this, but we should deal with I usually don't like kind of, you know, extending the meeting too long. And we have another webinar next week on Wednesday with the Village to Village Network. So, and it's a Q&A, question and answer meeting. So I would say that if you still have questions that can wait for a week, it will be easier and better to answer those questions next week at the webinar on the 22nd of July. In the meantime, if you can send us those questions, we will prepare that, you know, a better answer or a training document. So that's what I would suggest. Unless you have a super urgent question that anyone wants to ask at this moment, I think we should probably stop the meeting right here.
Thanks, Manuel.
Thank you.
Thank you, everybody. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Have a good day.
Bye. Send questions.
Thank you.